Yo, dudes, B-Man, Nick from Verdicks. As you already know, Nick and I have been reading or listening to the David Goggins book. It's called Can't Hurt Me. It's available basically everywhere you can imagine. And tonight in this video, we're going to give you our individual 3 takeaways, top lessons that we learned while reading this amazing book. Nick, the first time I heard about David Goggins was 2018 when he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. And I remember how different life was back in 2018. And as I was listening to it back then, I thought, this guy's a real outlier. He's an individual. He's a Navy SEAL. The things he's saying make sense and are inspirational, but I didn't really buy in at the time. And I remember just thinking it was a great interview and maybe I would check him out later. Flash to 2 years later in February of 2020, Nick starts reading this really powerful book and he tells all of his friends about it, including me. And he notices that I was struggling just to get my mind right, get my body right, start feeling good again. And Nick mentioned that I should take a look at this book. And then he texted me a couple times a week until I actually picked up the book. And I started it just out of wanting to, give Nick what he was trying to get. He wanted me to start that book and I hit play. And from the moment I hit play, I was 10 hours deep into this book. Every spare second I got, I couldn't stop. It's a tale of overcoming obstacles that you could never even imagine being able to overcome. It's a very moving book. I recommend it wholeheartedly. And as we've said tonight, we're just going to take our 3 top takeaways from the book. What I will say is we're going to be careful not to give away. There's not going to be any spoilers, so you can watch this video without having to really worry about ruining the experience for you, because I've already gone through the book twice now, and you pick up more stuff each time you go through. It's really life-changing, and we're going to give it a shot tonight. Nick, how did you find out about Goggins?
Same thing. So Rogan, I listened to his interview, did a little bit of research on him, saw all of his individual accolades. And I always kind of wanted to read the book. What kind of stopped me was I kind of felt like it was going to be a book all about like athletics, or athleticism and endurance and, how to get the most out of your sports career or something like that. I wasn't prepared for, how he, the book is basically how it's a story of his life really, and his mentality and how he came to be who he is today. And it's a tragic story. It's a funny story. It's a happy story. It's a heart-wrenching story. I can't recommend it enough. I'm super, super thankful that you liked it. After begging and pleading for you to listen to it, I was kind of a little nervous that, you might not be into it as much as I was, but man, I was super happy that you listened to it. It's like on repeat for me now. Like it's my go-to book when I run, just to get in the right mindset. So yeah, I mean, the more I read it, the more I get out of it, like you. And tonight I just have 3 quick things that I took from it. But you could literally read this book 100 times and have it still be impactful.
Yeah, it was a real struggle for me to pull out my 3 top things, but what I did was, what are the things that I've been pulling on in my own life actually since I've read the book? The first one is the concept of the cookie jar. So the concept of the cookie jar is basically pulling from your past losses and wins to drag yourself through a challenge when you're in your lowest, deepest, darkest point. The principle is that after motivation wears off and after you've literally drained your battery of physical energy, you're exhausted, there's nothing left. You need to give your mind a little bit of nourishment. And the concept of the cookie jar is that you reach back deep in your memories and you think about the times that you overcome, or that you passed the test you weren't supposed to pass, or that time you signed the mortgage on that house that you live in now. You look back on all of these tiny little victories and even losses, the time that you didn't go far enough and that guy beat you and you were in second place, and you use those as nourishment for your mind. So reaching into the cookie jar is it's a fascinating concept. I've been trying to incorporate that because when you look back over anybody's life, no matter where you came from and where you are now, there are cookies there. I'd like to highlight why they call it the cookie jar. David Goggins had a terrible life when he was very young, but one thing that his mother managed to do, just in spite of how poor they were, was she always had cookies in the house. Just the one treat that he would get every now and then. And he mentions how he would pick that cookie up and just admire the cookie because he had never had such a delicious, wonderful item in his life. Yeah. And he built that into what he further goes on to, getting you through those challenging times. So cookie jar was my first takeaway.
Cool. My first one kind of was the most surprising thing that I got out of the book, and was, like I said, the reason I didn't want to read this was because I felt like I wouldn't relate to it because I'm not an ultra marathoner. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not an Army Ranger. I'm not, all these things that he is. But he talks about be your own hero and be uncommon in your own world. So like this whole book is all about Goggins basically saying he doesn't want you to be like him. Like he realizes that we need to be ourselves, but the best possible version of ourselves, like whatever that is. So he says, uncommon has many different flavors. So just like there's uncommon office workers, there's uncommon laborers, there's uncommon parents. It's doing whatever you do in your life the best you can with the constant attitude of improving and excelling. So that was one that I thought was pretty cool because even though I thought I wouldn't relate to the book, it made me realize that I can be Goggins as a father. I can be Goggins as at my job. I can be Goggins to my friends. Like I can be the best version of me in anything that I'm passionate about in my life and constantly look to be better at it. And I thought that was
absolutely.
Yeah.
I joke all the time that I'm average Joe, right? Like average house, 2.5 kids, average job, like I'm right down the middle. But this does make you feel like you can be extraordinary in any facet of your life that you put that much effort into.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the ones that I really like, my second takeaway here is mastering your morning. I have said over and over, and I know everybody else does it, that there's just not enough time. I raise 2 kids. I have a full-time job. I'm trying to launch a business. I have a relationship to maintain. I have assets to maintain. And it feels like there's no time. My time always feels like it's owned by somebody else at every part of the day. And most of us have this problem. So David Goggins makes the point that you need to prioritize your goals and do what it takes to get them done. And one of which is mastering your morning. In order to not interfere with all of those other obligations and tasks that you have throughout the day, you can wake up extra early, wake up at 3:30 a.m., wake up at 4 a.m., getting up when no one else is counting on you and taking that time away from you and getting done what you need to get done. In the past, I've actually lived that. Before I had kids, I was the master of my mornings. I was up at 4 a.m., hit the gym at 4:30, be in the office, sitting at my desk by 7:30, and I was on fire. Lately, I've been having a hard time mastering my mornings, but it's on my daily challenge, and I'm slowly taking them back. So master of your mornings, a huge takeaway for me.
I think mastering the mornings too is like when you have kids, sometimes your mornings are the only time you can get shit done. Like, and if you don't take advantage of it, it's over. Because by the time you get home from work, open the door, and the kids want to play and dinner, and before you know it, it's bedtime. So really, anything that you're passionate about or you prioritize almost has to be done in the morning.
Yeah, I'm definitely a morning guy anyway, so it suits me well. I was actually thinking about just putting a little bed down in the basement where I work out in case any of them wake up and be like, just go lay in that bed over there while I hit this treadmill a couple more times.
There's another great Navy SEAL, Jocko Willing. And if you watch his Instagram, every single day, he has like this cheap Timex watch. And he wakes up at 4:30 and he just takes a picture of his watch at 4:30 every morning. And that's when he gets at it. So
heck yeah.
Yeah. My second one was callousing your mind to make uncomfortable choices. So he's a big advocate of doing something that sucks every single day. And it's not about like self-punishment. It's not about torture. It's about, calcing your mind so that when life throws hardships at you, we can deal with it gracefully.
Right.
Um, you know, he talks about the two voices inside our heads, right? We've got that one voice that says, basically it wants us to go to the place where we can get better. And the other voice is basically saying, no, F that. Let's not do that. Let's sit on the couch. We can go run tomorrow, or
Right.
let's sleep in a little bit today and not go to the gym. And he talks about in the book when he realized that there's only one voice that he needs to listen to. And that's the one that encourages him to do the things that in his mind, sucked. Um, so I think it's so prevalent nowadays with our culture being so fixated on quick fixes, right? Like, what's the latest diet fad? Or you go on Twitter, Instagram, and it's like, hey, download my course. You'll get six pack of abs and eat like a king. And like, it's not, if it was that easy, we'd all be studs, right?
Dude, and I still fall for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
oh, I've done my research and this one's going to pay off. I'm never going to have to run on the treadmill again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's looking for the best results with the littlest effort. And that's just really not how life works unless you're that, one in a million guy who took his $1,200 stimulus check and put it in GameStop and now has, 100 grand, right? Like those are one in a million opportunities. For the most part, we have to work for everything that we get. And the only way to better yourself and achieve those things is to embrace the suck. Right. And I thought it was pretty cool. You think about when you lift weights and you develop the calluses on your hands, or when you play guitar, you get the calluses on your fingertips, right? And then all of a sudden you can play for longer, you can do more. The same methodology applied to your mind when you're dealt a difficult situation or a difficult problem at work. You're going to be the guy that keeps his cool, develops a plan of action, and executes. And the person that doesn't callous their mind is the one that's going to flounder and fail to lead from the front. So that was a pretty cool takeaway from me.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a huge portion of the book too. There's an entire chapter dedicated to it, and then it's definitely woven throughout. Building that callus is definitely instrumental in being as strong as you could possibly be. My third takeaway was more of an underlying theme throughout the book. You'll hear it come up a lot. It's the why am I here? He says this phrase over and over, especially at some of the deepest, darkest spots. Throughout his journey, in every self-imposed point of unimaginable difficulty, he gets to a spot mentally where the only question left is for him to say, why am I doing this? Why am I here? And even though I didn't intend for this to be part of my life, this is the part that has become the biggest part of my life, which is really strange. This is the part that you're talking about at the beginning where it mentally changes you. Mm-hmm. It has mentally changed me. I've been asking myself at times when I need to do that extra rep. Why do I need to do this extra rep? Well, I'm trying to lose weight so I can feel better in clothes, so I can take my kids to the beach, so I can take back my body. Why did I miss a work meeting today? Well, I missed a work meeting today because my brain wasn't fully in the concept of what I needed to pay attention to. Why am I here? Why do I feel like this? Because I goofed, because I let up when I wasn't supposed to let up. And I've been using that why am I here concept to cover everything from the moment I wake up to when I go to bed. And it's really having a positive effect.
Yeah, I think understanding your purpose, right, is super important because, like we talked about, if you're doing things that suck to get better, if you literally can't answer why you're doing them, you're not going to be successful in continuing to do them. Mm-hmm. You have to understand why you're doing it, be passionate about it, understand your purpose in order to really have the mental fortitude to continue to do shit that sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise you're just stuck in the rut. So yeah, 100%. Yeah. My last one was run your own race and don't let others dictate your reality.
Oh, I love this one. I
thought it was so cool in the book. I won't spoil anything, but basically, I mean, obviously everyone knows that SEALs go through BUDS training and physical stuff. And he was talking about how you know, like you kind of meet the class before and you get to talk to the instructors and stuff like this. And when it got to Hell Week, everyone would be like, oh, you're fine, you know, up until Wednesday. Wednesday is when you start to fade. Wednesday start to when you start to get tired and all this. And Goggins gets to Wednesday and he's like, you know what? F that. I'm not tired. I'm not going to be tired because they tell me that's what I should be, right? Like life is like a giant mind game, and 99% of the time you're playing against yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
don't be tired just because someone told you you will. Get tired like on your own terms, right? When you have a baby and everyone tells you you're going to be so tired because you're not getting sleep, you could be cool. Don't just show up to work half dead because you've decided you're tired, because that's what everyone that has a baby is. You know, get tired on your own terms. Run your own race. I think when we look at social media nowadays and we see Twitter and Instagram, we're constantly comparing ourselves to how the 1% live, right? Money, car, houses. Like if we're comparing ourselves to that, we lose sight of the amazing things that we have in our lives, right? And if your only marker for success and happiness is based on, you know, what probably is like a doctored image, you're never going to be happy. So run your own race, dictate your own reality. You know, whatever makes you happy. It shouldn't be what anyone else decides makes you happy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you know, this was a big one for me. Like in my sports career, like I would always try to race the person next to me.
Right.
And sometimes that person, because I was a swimmer, someone would be faster at a particular stroke than I was at that stroke. And so if I'm doing an IM and they were a better butterflyer than me, and I go out and try to keep pace with them in butterfly, well, then when it got to my good stroke, breaststroke, I didn't have the energy that I should have had. My most successful races are when I went in with a game plan and swam my own race. And when it came to the breaststroke, I had the energy and I just left them in my dust. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a valuable lesson to learn and kind of practice in life.
Completely agree. Yeah, that's a huge takeaway. So those are my top three. Your top three are great. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that they're different, but it's kind of what I would expect from the two of us.
Yeah.
There were some other takeaways, just general
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
My dad was in the Navy. His dad was in the Navy. When I was a young man, it never crossed my mind to join the Navy. I'm likely not brave enough, and I probably didn't have what it takes to cut it. But this gave me a new respect too for those men and women in military service and what they actually go through, and then especially those who are in advanced military operations.
100%.
You're talking about the elite of the elite, and I just my level of respect for those men and women has definitely increased after reading this book.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am one of the first family members to not join the armed forces. That's in my family. Grandfathers, both great grandfathers, cousins, uncles, all in the Army, military, Navy, Air Force too. So, you know, widespread. So a ton of respect for them. You know, and then the last thing I would say about the book really is it's not, I don't have it written down as a takeaway, but you know, God, if you don't read this book and kind of have your heartstrings tugged and like just have an uneasy feeling in your stomach about the things that he went through, and then, you know, if you just need a swift kick in the nuts, if you're down on yourself or you think you've got it tough, like just read this book. Just read this book and realize that just the ability that you probably have the chance to read this book or to listen to it on Audible, you're never going to experience a life like he did, because none of those things were open to him when he was growing up, when he was developing. And he had such a difficult life and the things that he overcame. And you're reading and you're like, holy shit. And then another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing, and another thing. So, like, when on a Friday afternoon, when you've got to stay 10 minutes late at work and that ruins your weekend, like after you read this book, you're like, it's not so bad. Like I can get over these things. I can run that extra mile. I can do that extra rep. I can make that video. I can write that review. I can write that article. Like it really, really, really puts a lot of things in life into perspective. And I think Goggins is really brave for sharing a lot of the stuff that he
Oh yeah.
shared in the book.
Yep.
And you know, if I had a chance to talk to him, I would just say thanks, because I think it is incredibly powerful and influential book that not just any man, but any man or woman should read and can have a life altering experience just reading his story.
You completely agree. Pick yourself up a copy. I actually purchased the copy for my dad, for my cousin, and for a friend of mine. So that's how impactful I think this is. And go out and get yourself a copy. Amazon, go to Goggins' website, buy it directly from him. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for letting us tell you about this book. Leave us a comment if you like the book, and if you want to talk about it further, reach out to us at verdicks.com. Follow us on all social media at Verdicks, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, shields up.
Good job, boys.
All rise. The well-hung jury is now